We have a consumer alert tonight. GM is recalling nearly 600,000 full-size U.S. trucks and SUVs. The company saying that the V8 engines can fail without warning, raising the risk of a crash.
General Motors is facing a recall wave that's far bigger and far uglier than most people realize. Hundreds of thousands of V8-equipped trucks and SUVs are caught in it. Mary Barra is now at the center of questions about what GM knew, when they knew it, and why owners are the ones paying. Headlines softened it to a recall. Owners called it something else: engines locking at speed, families stranded, and a fix that looked more like a bandage than a repair. Dealers tried to frame it as routine. Markets flinched. But the real story wasn't in the press release. It was in the quiet paperwork. Internal notes, revised bulletins, and a sequence of choices that shifted risk away from the company and straight onto drivers. Why did warnings go unheeded? Why are customers eating 4- and 5-figure bills? And how close is this mess to your own driveway? It starts with what critics now call the oil gambit. Long before lawsuits piled up and forum posts exploded, a subtle change slipped into the service docs. Shops began replacing the originally specified 0W-20 with a thicker 0W-40. To most people, that reads like maintenance trivia, something you'd shrug at during an oil change. But the timing and the consequences raised a harder question. Was this about protection or postponement? On a whiteboard, the argument sounds solid. A heavier film can tolerate more heat, cushion bearings under load, and survive ugly conditions like towing in July or idling in traffic. In isolation, that's true. In the real world, it came with a bill nobody mentioned. Engines designed to spin light oil now had to churn something denser. Drag went up, fuel economy went down. Owners who saw approximately 18 miles per gallon suddenly watched the screen settle around approximately 15, sometimes worse in heat or with payload. Stretch that 3-mile per gallon drop across 150,000 miles, and you're staring at thousands of extra dollars burned at the pump. There was another hit no one warned about: stigma. Databases and dealer software started flagging vehicles with the updated spec. Manuals were reprinted, oil caps were swapped. Owners posted photos of the new viscosity stickers like warning labels. On trade-in day, offers were sliced. A $70,000 truck wore a quiet mark that said, "Problem child." The change didn't address the deeper flaw. It just made the owner carry the suspicion. That's the heart of the oil gambit: the appearance of action without solving the mechanism. Every quart of heavier oil might buy time, but time for whom? Critics argue it pushed failures beyond the warranty horizon, turning a corporate liability into a customer catastrophe. It looked like engineering. It functioned like delay. And if you think that's bad, it was only one layer. Inside engineering groups, the people who live and die on tolerances measured in thousands, troubling patterns began showing up. Simulations and teardowns revealed bearing scarring, questionable crank alignment, oil passages that starved under heat and load. These weren't rumors scribbled on napkins. They were slides in meetings, notes in audits, documented threads that moved up chains of command. As early as 2022, some tests showed heat cycle expansion chewing into clearances that should have been safe. Warranty data started to look less like noise and more like a trend line. Yet when the findings climbed, the response wasn't a halt and redesign. It was soft language, slower timelines, and the kind of word choice that drains urgency. Catastrophic failure morphed into potential wear. Isolated replaced pattern. The data didn't vanish. The alarm did. That slow roll fed straight into what owners now call warranty roulette. On paper, 5 years or 60,000 miles sounds like a safety net. In practice, a disturbing cluster appeared on the wrong side of the line: 61K, 62K, 63K. Failures with no mercy and no coverage. A replacement long block could run $15,000 or more before labor, rentals, and downtime. Try balancing that against a monthly payment on a $70,000 to $80,000 truck that can't move. Households felt the hit. Small businesses and contractors felt it worse. One truck down can mean missed bids, canceled jobs, reputation damage that doesn't show up on a repair invoice. Relief wasn't consistent. Some regions offered partial goodwill, others didn't. When thousands of similar failures fill forums and only a few receive help, policy starts to look like triage. The timeline didn't soothe anyone either. The official record presented a neat sequence: Concern surfaced, analysis ran, recall launched. But owners had been posting seized engines, tear-down pictures, and roadside videos long before those dates. Techs whispered they were told to treat each case as a one-off. Attorneys later surfaced paperwork suggesting the red flags were earlier and louder than public statements implied. Whether you call that spin, caution, or delay, the effect was the same. More families bore the cost. Then came the fix. When the recall instruction arrived, people expected hardware, revised parts, reinforced bearings, redesigned oiling. What they got was a fluid swap and compliance stickers. Drain 0W20, fill 0W40, swap the cap, update the manual. In lab conditions, charts can show stronger film strength under heat, sure. But a spec sheet doesn't pull a trailer over a pass in August or idle through urban delivery routes in 100-degree stop and go. Outside controlled tests, the thicker oil meant worse fuel economy, and the stigma meant less money at resale. That's a double hit. Cash at the pump now, value evaporated later. Seen through a generous lens, it was a stopgap. Seen through a harsher one, it was a shield, publicly visible action that bought quarters of calm while pushing the real risk past coverage. Either way, it didn't fix misalignment, it didn't unscar bearings, and it didn't clean clogged passages. It just changed the clock. Silence made it worse. When identical stories ripple across owners, highway stalls, sudden knocks, no codes until it's too late, you expect loud guidance. Instead, the messaging often blamed maintenance habits, towing patterns, or fuel quality. That turns loyal customers into suspects of their own failures. Meanwhile, forums accumulated evidence faster than press releases: invoices, photos, compression numbers, oil analysis reports. The internet became the recall notice people were actually reading. Markets eventually noticed, lawmakers asked for documents, and the narrative started to shift from rare issue to broken trust. Because when the proposed remedy is stickers and a thicker fluid, it feels like you were asked to carry the brand on your back. That's not engineering. That's optics. What does all of this add up to? A wound deeper than a balance sheet charge. Reliability isn't just a specification, it's a social contract. People buy trucks to work, to haul, to carry their kids, to build businesses. They pay for horsepower, yes, but they're really buying certainty. When engines lock on highways, when families wait on flatbeds in winter, when a fix sacrifices MPG and resale while leaving the root cause intact, certainty dies. And once trust breaks, it lingers. It shows up as hesitation in the showroom, skepticism in the service lane, and a permanent question mark over the badge. Here's the math nobody put in the recall letter. 3 miles per gallon gone over 150,000 miles is thousands burned. A flagged spec on your VIN can shave thousands more on trade-in. A long block replacement can hit $15,000 before you even talk about labor or a rental. You add those columns, and you see who really pays for a temporary solution. If you own one of these vehicles, here's what to do next. Track everything: maintenance receipts, oil change intervals, analysis reports. Document symptoms early. If you're out of coverage, push for goodwill with a complete paper trail and escalate calmly but persistently. If you're shopping, check service bulletins and viscosity updates tied to the VIN, and price in the potential fuel and resale penalty. Better to know now than learn after 60,001 miles. The larger lesson is about incentives. When the fix that's easiest to announce isn't the fix that solves the mechanism, the bill rolls downhill. That's why owners feel like they were turned into accountants of someone else's problem. Paying at the pump today, paying in resale tomorrow, paying again if the engine lets go after the clock runs out. If this breakdown helped you avoid even a $50 mistake, do 2 things. Hit like so more owners see it, and share your experience below. Year, trim, miles, what happened, and what you were told. Real stories guide real buyers. And subscribe so you don't miss the updates, because this story isn't finished. Every week, new threads pull on the same knot. Internal warnings, warranty patterns, the quiet ways costs move from corporations to customers. The next chapter matters most if you're the one turning the key. You bought a machine built on a promise. You deserve more than a sticker on an oil cap. You deserve the truth before it becomes a bill.